everyone. Welcome in to another episode of the Inside Voice podcast. How are we doing? It is June. It is summertime. I don't know about you, but this is my least favorite season. Hate to start off on a bad note. But I'm learning to accept it for what it is, enjoy it for what it is, try to remember summers of my youth and maybe tap into that. What'd they say? Like this year is like, we're going back to a 90s summer, like camp outs and, putting up a tent in the backyard. For me, like I always did, because I was a nerd, I always did the honors English program. So I was always reading throughout the summer. So maybe I just need to do that. Maybe I just need to read more good books over the summer. But I've also told myself that summer is the last season before your favorite season, which is fall. And summer is the last season before football season. And we all love football. Of course, we've actually got football that is happening right now with the World Cup, which is really exciting that we're having that in the United States, and just seeing games all over the country. I've just been in like a sports mood lately. Stanley Cup finals, NBA finals, got World Cup stuff coming in. Like I didn't grow up playing soccer and don't really know all the rules or anything like that, but I'm like enjoying watching these games. And shout out to my nephew who is obsessed with soccer. Sometimes I feel like I'm just watching so I can have a conversation with him that is semi-intelligent about soccer. So, but lots to enjoy this summer. If you want to drop a comment, and just let me know like what you've got planned for the summer. I would love to hear like family vacations, trips, doing absolutely nothing, baking by the pool, whatever is on your summer to-do list. I would love to hear about it. As always, we do like to start off the podcast with some good news. I wanted to share a story. For those of you that don't know, I'm a broadcaster. I work in country music, and something happened with Lainey Wilson recently that I thought was so full circle, poetic in a sense, and really something that kind of just reminded me of myself as a kid. So if you don't know who Lainey Wilson is, she is like one of the biggest country artists on the planet right now. She is from Baskin, Louisiana. She is incredibly kind. She's one of the most generous and warm people that you will ever meet. She's also very down to earth. I've had a couple of opportunities to interview her, and she's wonderful. She shared a story in a documentary that she did earlier this year that's on Netflix if you want to watch it, about how when she was a teenager, she wrote a letter to Tim McGraw. For those of you who don't know, Tim McGraw is also from Louisiana, and she grew up maybe 30 minutes from his hometown. So she wrote this letter to Tim basically saying like, hey, help a sister out. Like, just get my foot in the door and leave the rest up to me. I promise you won't be disappointed. Just basically looking for some help in the industry. Well, he never got the letter, and she has obviously built her career now. She's, an Entertainer of the Year winner. She's winning all these awards and trophies and selling out shows and stuff like that. She recently got to not only meet Tim McGraw because she had never met him before, but also he told her like, oh, I never got your letter. I didn't even know it existed until last year. And I'm almost embarrassed that I didn't get it. And she's like, oh no, don't worry about it. He's like, so I wrote you a letter. And he wrote her a letter that was what he thought he would have said to her had he received that letter nearly 20 years ago. And at this moment, we don't know what that letter said. I don't know if she's ever going to share it with us or if she has since the recording of this podcast. But to see something like that come full circle is really exciting. And writing a letter like that is definitely something that I did when I was in high school. Looking to network, looking to connect, looking for help, looking for anything, just kind of, having that gumption to chase after what you want. It's a beautiful thing, and honestly something that I think we could use as adults. Sometimes I think that we shut ourselves down, or we think, well, people aren't going to care that much, or nobody's going to help me. But you never know what could happen. And maybe you don't see the results of your efforts immediately, but maybe 15 years down the road you will, kind of like Lainey Wilson. You just never know. And so it was such a sweet moment to see the two of them engaging backstage at CMA Fest when this whole thing went down, but also just knowing like Lainey's been able to build this incredible career, and she still had the opportunity to meet Tim McGraw and have that moment with him. Like, that's really cool. Like, eventually her letter made it to him. So don't give up on your dreams, I guess, is the the end all be all. I have to laugh because I'm sitting in this chair recording this podcast, and this chair is in my office. And when I'm doing my regular job, my husband will come in and sit in this chair, and he always sits down and he goes, "Hey guys, just chase your dreams." And like he looks where I would normally be filming. So me saying, "Don't give up on your dreams," just feels very much like something that he would have said sitting in this chair. We are doing our weight droppers series. We are slimming down for the summer, but not physically. This is not a workout, fitness, health series. We can totally do one of those if you want to do one of those, and we probably will, because that has become such a huge part of my existence on this planet, is like taking care of myself and trying to eat well and work out hard in the gym. But this is all about emotional things, mental things that we've just carried with us. Maybe it's something from our childhood that we have carried into adulthood, but ultimately it's something that if we continue to carry this weight, it is going to destroy us. It is going to make us miserable. It's going to hold us back from the things that we want in our lives. And so we're looking at things that, even though we've grown comfortable carrying these weights, and in some scenarios, we've even defended carrying these weights, dropping them would be so much better for us. It would actually give us true freedom and more control. I know sometimes we hold on to things because we think like, this gives me a sense of control over a certain situation, or it gives me a sense of control when I'm dealing with a certain person in my life. But really, you would have so much more freedom and ultimately more control over your life if you just let it go. Holding on to these things actually gives you less control. Just like you think that being able to, if you want to talk about like eating well, just because like you can eat whatever you want as an adult, that's not really true freedom, because oftentimes you don't eat the good stuff, but if you had a little bit of discipline and some parameters and a little bit of education on what you could eat, you're actually more free, So we have talked about a couple of things in the last few weeks, and if you want to go back and binge, you totally can. First week, we opened up with jealousy and comparison. These are things that we hold on to that honestly, I don't even think we want to hold on to them, but for whatever reason, it's like our default mode, especially when we open up something like social media. So dropping jealousy, dropping comparison, those kind of weights would definitely give us more freedom, especially when it comes to pursuing and living a life that we really want, and feeling joy in life, because we're not constantly putting ourselves against a measuring stick of somebody else. You know what I mean? Last week, we talked about dropping anxiety and fear, and I shared a lot with you about how I can allow anxiety to, creep into my life. My anxiety stems from losing my mom 5 years ago in a very sudden way and traumatic way. And that has caused me to overthink a lot of things in my life. I'm constantly thinking, what did I miss? What did I not pick up on? Also just thinking like worst case scenarios, nobody likes to get a phone call that is out of the blue, unexpected, drops you to your knees and takes the breath out of you. And now it's kind of like anxiety has become this thing that I'm holding on to, because I feel like if I'm not anxious about something, then I must not really care about it. But that's not true. So we worked last week and talked about some ways that we can drop anxiety in our life, drop fear in our life, and truly pursue a life that we want and a life that we are called to because of Christ. This week, we're talking about everybody's favorite weight to hold on to, I feel like. It is bitterness and resentment, aka holding a grudge. This is something that I feel we hold on to because it really makes us feel like we have that control that we want in our life. We feel like if we can be angry with that person forever, if we can shut them out and ignore their phone calls, then we're in control of the situation. They'll never be able to hurt us again. But really holding on to that stuff, holding on to a resentment towards somebody or an anger or bitterness towards something that they did 20 years ago, holding on to that is actually more detrimental to us than it is to them. And we'll dive into that. We will explore exactly how that works. First, I would like for us to kind of identify where these emotions, where these feelings can actually stem from. So bitterness and resentment, I feel like mostly come from unresolved hurt. This can be somebody hurt you by something they said, something they did. It could be a situation that maybe wasn't directly aimed at you, but somehow you felt the brunt end of it. You know what I mean? Like maybe it was something that happened to a lot of people, but you're just holding on to it still. That is definitely like the breeding ground for bitterness and resentment. And this can go on either end. I mean, this could be something that somebody did something to you or said something to you, so now you're angry with them and you're not going to let it go. They truly hurt your feelings and they never apologized for it. But also, it could come from something that maybe you contributed to. Maybe you hurt somebody. Maybe you did something that you're not proud of and you've tried to apologize, but they haven't received it. They haven't accepted it. They haven't forgiven you. And so now you're angry at them for their reaction. You know what I mean? Like it truly can come from both sides. And the longer that you sit in that bitterness and resentment, I mean, obviously it's not going to get resolved, but like the further the distance gets between you and that person, you may hold on to bitterness because of an experience that you went through. Maybe, like I said, it wasn't something that was directly aimed at you, but maybe you're bitter because you lost your job. Your business had to close during COVID. Maybe you're bitter because of, another situation that happened with your family or your livelihood that was so out of your control. And again, wasn't aimed directly at you. Maybe it was mass layoffs, but you're still holding on to that bitterness and it is affecting the way that you show up in the next phase of your life. Maybe applying for another job or showing up in a way for your family or something like that. It is just holding you back. Bitterness, I feel like, can also come from a place of pride and self-righteousness. Let's say you did get laid off from your job and you are now so bitter that happened that you are not, like, you will not allow yourself to take another job that feels beneath you because you were at this level at that job doing this thing respected by these people. And it's like, I am not starting over. And if you have worked hard and you have gotten to, what do they call it? A C-suite, when you're like corporate and you're like a bigwig, like you're a CEO or a COO, like I'm not saying that you should step down and take a lesser job. I'm not saying that shame on you for wanting less in life, but sometimes your bitterness can prevent you from exploring opportunities that might actually be really good for you. You're just holding on to it, and it's a level of pride that is keeping you from trying something new. Or you could be so prideful in your broken relationship with a family member or a friend that you're like, I'm not calling them. I call them all the time. They should call me. They're the ones that did this. They're the ones that did that. Like, you tell yourself this story that is so rooted in a self-righteousness that, yeah, it is definitely feeding bitterness in your life, and it is rotting you to the core. I think it also can come from a place of just wanting revenge on somebody. You're unwilling to let them off the hook because you want to feel like you're going to get yours. You know what I mean? They did this to you, and it is not going to be okay no matter how many times they apologize until you get to hurt them the way they hurt you. And a lot of times we just hold on to that bitterness. We hold on to an unwillingness to resolve things because we feel like we're punishing them. And we feel self-righteous in that. We feel like we are owed that because they hurt us in the first place. So that is the weight that we're dealing with here. And it's ugly. And honestly, it ain't cute. You gotta let this go, okay? It is so unhealthy to hold on to these things. Again, we have talked the last couple of weeks about these negative emotions that just, they rot you from the inside out. And they're sneaky because, again, they feel like they give you control. Like, you think that these emotions that you're holding on to give you a sense of control in your life because they're deep and complex emotions, you know what I mean? And when you can hold on to them, it makes you feel something, and that makes you feel like you've got control, you know what I mean? But really, I mean, they're rotting you from the inside out. I feel like when you hold on to things like this and you ruminate on them and you refuse to let them go, it really like rots your soul. In the Bible, it talks about transforming yourself by the renewing of your mind. Well, where do emotions come from? They're in your mind. They're from thoughts in your mind. They're from these passing, fleeting thoughts that you decide to latch onto and ruminate and think about over and over and over again and solidify in your brain and make a neural pathway for, aka rewire your brain to think and feel like that more easily in the future. It's like you're holding on to that stuff, you're catching on to those feelings. If you could just renew your mind, you would be absolutely transformed. You would be a new person. You would feel lighter. You would feel more vibrant. You would feel healthy and free, for crying out loud. Holding on to bitterness with other people obviously damages your relationship with that person, but it also damages relationships that you're going to have with future people. I know that there was bitterness that I was holding on to with my mom when she passed away. Because she took her own life. And I was so angry with her for so long that we didn't have a chance to talk about this. We didn't have a chance. Like, I feel like I was constantly asking her and trying to reach out to her and invest in her in our relationship. And I feel like I never had an opportunity for us to explore that. And the fact that I didn't even know that this was something that she was contemplating, like, that hurt. And so I held on to a lot of bitterness and a lot of anger for a long time. And what I realized was it didn't help me heal. And it definitely didn't help me in the way I was showing up for other people. I was carrying that bitterness into my marriage, into my relationships with my siblings and my dad, and into my relationships with my friends who didn't even know my mom. But like, suddenly I was sharp and I was short with people. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. This is not healthy for me. And it's going to leave me at the end of the day alone. Nobody's going to want to put up with that ugliness. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it felt like in my life, as I was allowing this bitterness to consume me and take over me, because I felt like I had righteous anger. And I was like, this is going to lead me down a road where nobody's going to want to be around me. Nobody's going to want to be in the same room as me. Nobody's going to want to communicate with me, because that's just an energy that like nobody's got time for. Let's be honest. Bitterness can also add stress to the body. Any negative emotion, I feel like, adds that stress to your body. And we know that stress is not good. Stress can affect your mental health. Stress can affect your physical health as well. So letting go of a negative emotion will alleviate the stress. I mean, think about holding on to a grudge with somebody. That takes effort. That takes energy. That is strife in your life. You know what I mean? Like, you have to actively keep holding on to that mess. And that's exhausting. Your body is tired. It is stressed out from holding on to this anger and this bitterness and this resentment and this refusal to just let it go. And I think ultimately it can close you off to opportunities. Like we were talking about, like, getting laid off from your job and being super bitter about it. But I think also similarly to the way you show up around other people, holding on to this stuff can actually close you off and give off an energy that will affect you when you walk into rooms that are important. Whether it is with your family or whether it's in your career. You let this anger build up in you, and it may bubble over and you pop off on your coworker, you pop off on your boss, and suddenly like you're gone. You gotta drop the weight. You absolutely have to. So what is our workout plan? If we're thinking about this as fitness, as we're thinking about this as health and wellness, and we're trying to drop this weight so we can run our race, like it says in the Bible, like Paul tells us, to run our race on this earth with endurance. What do we need to do? Like, what are we going to be doing each day to drop this weight? Because I'm a firm believer when it comes to health and fitness and so many things in your life, if you're going to be successful, there has to be small, consistent things that you're doing every single day to chase after that goal, that dream, whatever you're after. You know what I mean? So with fitness, it's like, what are you doing daily that is going to help you? Are you staying hydrated? Are you making sure you're getting your protein and your fiber? Are you staying active each day? Maybe it's not a hard workout, but you're walking at least 30 minutes or something like that. Just little things that add up over time. So what are our workouts? What is our workout plan to drop this bitterness, to drop this resentment that we are holding so tightly to. And I think we're white knuckling these relationships or these things that we've been through in our life. And the easiest thing that we can do is just let them go. Like Elsa and Frozen, just let it go. Honestly, it's so much easier said than done, but just dropping these feelings and refusing to fall into the cycle of these feelings is going to be so freeing to you. I think you will actually feel a weight come off of you if you can do this. I really feel like you will feel lighter. You will feel lighter in your body. You will feel lighter in your mind and your emotions and in your relationships if you can just let this stuff go. Stuff that you've been holding on to since you were 6. Stuff that you've been holding on to since Christmas last year. Stuff that you've been holding on to since yesterday even. You will feel so much lighter if you're like, you know what? I'm just going to let it go. Was it it was Ruth Bader Ginsburg that said this when she was asked about marriage advice, because she was married for a very long time. I mean, decades and decades and decades. And one of the things she said, I'm paraphrasing, so I'm totally going to butcher it because I don't remember the exact thing that she said. But she said, you sometimes in your marriage, you just have to be a little bit deaf. Like you just have to not hear the things, not internalize the things and let them go. And that is so true, not just in marriage, but in so many other relationships. Don't take everything so personally. Just let it go. Move on from it. It's not that big of a deal. And one of the biggest ways that we can do this, I think the hardest thing that we can do to let go of bitterness and resentment, this big weight that we've been carrying, is to let it go. But in doing that, forgive. I know that is a hard word to hear for some people. And I think it's hard for people to hear because you've heard it the wrong way. You feel like if you're going to forgive somebody for hurting you, betraying you, lying to you, stealing from you, whatever it is, if you're going to forgive them, I think what you think that means is that you're telling them, it's okay that you did that. I'm good. That didn't hurt. That is not what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is recognizing that a wrong was done, but refusing to relive that wrong every single day. Just let it go. Honestly, forgiveness is more about you than it is the other person. It is not you going to this person and saying, everything you did was fine. Don't you worry about it. No, it is you saying, I'm done with this. I'm washing my hands of it and I am done. You are letting yourself off the hook. You're not letting them off the hook, They still did something that hurt you. There was still an offense that happened, but it's you refusing to continue to walk down that path anymore. And that is a daily thing. Forgiveness is not a one and done because, sometimes the hurt is very, very deep and it takes a while. I remember my mom, when I went to my childhood home after she passed, I remember walking into her room and I asked everybody else to leave. I just needed a moment in that room. And I said, Mom, I forgive you. And I meant it. And I was sobbing and it was such an emotional moment for me. But it has taken every day since then of me saying, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. To not be angry and bitter about it. It is a daily practice to forgive and move through a situation. And I do think it gets easier. They say that time heals all wounds. I think daily laying down and shaking off and letting go of something that truly hurt you does get easier. I think that it can be a healing therapeutic process, but you got to commit to it. I'll be honest. I also think that another thing that we can do, some reps that we can take, is just recognizing the temptations that we experience that could make us bitter. What are the things that would make you spiral back into those feelings? What are those things that would be so tempting for you to latch onto so you can feel those wonderful feelings of just being angry? Again, these weights are such liars, holding on to anger, holding on to bitterness is not good for you. And yet we feel so good in it, No, it's not good. But recognizing environments, people, experiences that might stir up feelings of bitterness, that might remind you of the situation in an unhealthy way, that might remind you of the offense in an unhealthy way. And honestly, I think one of the things that we need to stay away from, this is a temptation for us, are the social therapists. Have you ever had something happen in your life and it's deep and it's painful and it's hard and you're going through it, right? And for whatever reason, even if you've never spoken any of this to anybody, nobody around you knows what you're going through, but you get on social media and you get on your explore page or your For You page, and it's like every video, every post has to do with your situation. I think this is a psychological thing in the first place. I think that we naturally gravitate and justify what we're seeing to fit our narrative. And then once you engage with that thing, like Instagram and TikTok, they're just going to feed it to you. It's a never ending cycle. But I would be very, very cautious, just like keeping, trigger foods in your house, unhealthy foods in your house that you can't control yourself around if you're trying to eat healthy. I think we have to be very careful of how much we engage on social media when we're going through something hard, because you will find everything on that social media platform to justify the way you feel and even fan those flames. And you got to be careful, because you will think, oh, this is how I should feel. Oh, I'm right in this. And you might not be. I think that's why we have to try everything by fire, and that's the word of God. We have to take everything to God and to his word to know what is real, to know if we're on the right path, you know what I mean? And getting on social media can be so tempting and can be such a slippery slope if you're holding on to anger and bitterness and you're trying so hard to forgive. Oh, they will make it sound so good. These little influencers, they will make it sound like, like they're on your side, and it's okay to feel this way. And you're so right in your feelings. And it's like, no, these feelings are hurting you. You got to let it go. You got to move forward. And finally, I think do some heavy lifting to try to fix things. I want to preface this by saying that I don't know your situation. I don't know what you're dealing with when what sparked the anger and the bitterness and the resentment in the first place. Could have been something extremely traumatic. Could have been something that was ongoing and abusive. It could be anything. I don't know. I want you to understand that there are some situations where there's going to be no resolution. There's going to be no way to fix this. There is no reaching out to the person that hurt you, because it is dangerous. It is not safe, and it's not healthy, and it could spiral back into something much worse. Don't you worry about trying to fix things, okay? Forgive in your own heart and move forward. That would be my best advice, okay? But it's up to you to determine what that is. If it's a petty little fight, if it is something that you can't even remember why this started in the first place, but for some reason something happened with your grandma and your aunt, and now it's trickled down into the cousins and the grandcousins, and it's like, we just need to get rid of this, because now it's becoming a generational thing, and it's just not healthy. That is for you to determine. I think that if it is something that is not that big, not that traumatic, not that dangerous, you absolutely should do what you can do to fix it. I don't want to try to quote the scripture on it, because I will butcher it and make it wrong. But as much as it falls on you, you need to go make things right. I wish I would have looked this up beforehand. I think it's when it's talking about if you come in to tithe, if you come in to make your offering, and there is an offense or a problem between you and your brother, leave your offering, go fix the problem with your brother, and then come back. That's how important it is for us to do what we can to create peace, do what we can to mend relationships. That's not always to say that it's going to be reciprocated. That is not always to say that that other person is going to receive your efforts or even speak to you. But as much as it falls on you, you should be trying to fix things. Reach out, apologize, ask if you can just have a conversation with them about it, Do it lovingly, not, yo, we need to talk. Hey, I just want to chat with you, or hey, I really love you and I would like for us to get to a better place. Can we just air things out? Can we just meet for coffee? Or hey, maybe we're not ready to talk, but I just want you to know that I love you. I want you to know that I'm thinking about you. And it bothers me that we're not okay. That is a great way for you to try. You know what I mean? Like that's just an opportunity for you to extend an olive branch or to put in some effort to fix things. It doesn't mean that it's going to go all the way to the finish line. You may drive yourself crazy trying to get it to the finish line, but at least try. My mom and I didn't have the best relationship, and sometimes it was hard to communicate. But I knew for me, it was like I was never not going to be the one to try. I was going to call, I was going to leave the messages, I was going to send the text, I was going to send the photo, I was going to leave the voicemails. I was going to do what I could for us to have a better relationship. And I want to encourage you to do the same. I think that the longer that we let these differences, these grudges go on, like the wedge just gets deeper and deeper. And again, this can easily be something that goes beyond just you and that person and starts affecting the people around you, your family, your friend circle, your community, your workspace. And in your family, it can even start going down to further generations where you've got warring families that don't even know why they're warring in the first place. And maybe it was a complete misunderstanding from the 1800s. You know what I mean? Like this happens. Those wedges and those footholds from the enemy, like the strongholds that he gets in these families, they just continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Do not let him do that. Do not let the enemy win. Try to fix things as much as you can. And sometimes I think we might be holding on to something and we are so self-righteous with it. We are like, I am so angry at this person and it makes me feel so good. And then you hear this podcast and you're like, maybe I should go try to fix this with this person. So you reach out to that person and they're like, what? You're mad at me? Like they don't even know. Sometimes we just make mountains out of molehills. And so I just want to encourage you to try very hard to fix things as much as you can, understanding that it may not be fixed, and that's okay. And it's not to say that your relationship is going to be one that it was before. It's not to say that your relationship is going to be one where you're talking every single day. There may be you may resolve something with somebody, but there still needs to be healthy boundaries set up between you and that person. And that is totally fine. We are just seeking to drop the bitterness, to drop the resentment, to stop holding a grudge, and to just be peaceable with people. Just be amicable with people. You know what I mean? We did a whole series about dealing with difficult people, like right around the holiday season. I thought it would be chef's kiss to do that. Because it's like you're dealing with family, you're dealing with friends, you're dealing with coworkers in a stressful time of year. I just thought it would be a great time to drop that in. I would encourage you to go listen to that. There's some good wisdom there, and we've bounced back and come back at full circle to some of those things that we talked about in those episodes. But yeah, your workout plan when it comes to dropping this weight of bitterness is forgive, understand what your triggers and your temptations are when it comes to wanting to hold on to that grudge more, and then do what you can to fix things with that person. Ultimately, like we just have things that, for lack of a better term, we are too grown to be holding on to. Like holding on to a grudge, like how old are you? 6? Like you're not going to talk to your best friend because she happened to wear the same outfit that you wore, or the guy that you liked, he liked her instead. Like let it go. Like just let it go, Or maybe, I don't know, maybe you got somebody on your sports team and they got to catch the winning touchdown pass and you didn't, and so like you've just held this grudge against them for the longest time because you were supposed to get the ball. Let it go. Just let it go. It sounds silly when you think about, kids like doing that, like I'm not forgiving them. I'm not telling them that I love them. I'm not telling my brother I love him because I'm angry with him. It seems so childish, yet we do this as adults all the time. So that's part of this weight dropper series of like, we're getting rid of weight that's holding us down, that's heavy on us, and we're also getting rid of stuff that is just straight up immature. We're letting go of childish things that just aren't cute anymore. Let's just put it that way. So I hope that you'll join me next week for another episode of our Weight Droppers series as we dive into something else. Just know I am praying for you this week. I understand that forgiveness is hard. I understand that trying to fix things with people is hard, but I want to encourage you to do it, and I'm on your side because I truly, truly believe and know that there is freedom on the other side of dropping this. So make it a good week for yourself.